John Gillies, the crofter's son from Butte, who built on a good education to achieve prominence in his hometown before bringing his large and talented family to Otago in middle age. John Gillies represents a particular Scottish type. The boy of humble origins who uses education as a vehicle to rise above his station by dint of ability and hard work, the so-called ladder parts. He also exemplifies another particular Scottish personality type, the Presbyterian of very firm views. He was described as stern, upright and humorless by one of his descendants. A masterful man with brusque ways who often struggled to accommodate other people's contrary views. Both aspects of his personality gave him drive and determination and were key aspects of his eventual success as an immigrant to the Free Church settlement in Otago. He was born in 1802, probably here at Townhead, just outside Rothesay on the Isle of Butte. He was the eldest son of Highland crofters who produced a large family, but few of whom survived childhood. His parents early recognised John's academic ability and made sure he received the best education possible in the nearby town's schools. Studying further on his own, by the time he was 18, John Gillies was employed by the town clerk and been formally trained in Scottish law and bureaucracy. He then served for a period in a merchant's business in Greenock, during which time he met and married Isabella Lilly, the daughter of a Glasgow businessman. It proved a fine match that would produce 5 sons and 3 daughters. Within a few years, the young couple would move back to Rothesay, where John was appointed Deputy Town Clerk and Sheriff's Clerk. Now, these buildings were erected in 1833, so they date from the time that John was working here. Within a few short years, he'd been elected Town Clerk himself, along with a host of other bureaucratic, legal and business roles that made him one of Rothesay's leading citizens. He and Isabella established eventually their own home on the hill above Rothesay called Lilybank, and here they brought up their family with a strict but loving hand. John was also heavily involved in Presbyterian politics, and he took a firm stand in favour of the Free Church during the Great Schism of the Disruption in 1843. As a prominent member of the civil establishment, he took some heat for that stand, but stood firm and helped the breakaway group convert an old herring processing yard into a makeshift church. By this time, John had established his own legal practice in Rothesay and pressured his sons to join him in the practice as they became old enough. They did so reluctantly and eventually managed to convince him that considering immigration to Otago would be a better way to secure their future. It was a big decision for a man in his 50s to make, but by presenting the special Free Church colony in Otago as a possible destination, the boys had a winning hand. And so in July 1852, all of the Gillies, except for a married daughter, set sail for New Zealand on the Slains Castle, and even she eventually followed with her husband. They arrived just as the New Zealand Constitution Act was passed, establishing limited self-government for the colony and creating Otago as one of its provinces. This opened a new phase in the history of Otago. No longer a New Zealand Company Free Church settlement scheme, but a provincial component of the new political structure with a limited form of representative democracy. Reinvigorated by the long sea voyage, John Gillies was just the man to play a part in the new arrangements. But first, he bought 10 acres for a house at Halfway Bush and set up his sons on a 100-acre farm at Tokomai. He then joined John Hyde Harris as a partner in Dunedin's only law firm, and also joined the First Church congregation, where he was quickly elected an elder. He established a scheme on Scottish lines for the financial support of Presbyterian ministry, and walked long miles across the province to help church congregations with worship as well as practical matters. When Otago's first vote for the Provincial Council was held in 1853, John Gillies was one of 6 men elected to represent its country districts. There followed 2 turbulent years of political involvement, during which the staunchly independent John Gillies fell out repeatedly on matters of principle with equally stubborn characters like William Cargill, James McAndrew and William Cutton. In the end, it was via the law rather than the political assembly that he made his greatest mark in Otago. In 1857, he was appointed resident magistrate and sheriff of Dunedin, a role which saw him mellow somewhat, meting out justice in his court in ways that showed a more tolerant and forgiving side of his nature. He also played a leading role in efforts to create a second Presbyterian congregation in Dunedin. And from its establishment in 1860, he was both an elder and the session clerk of Knox Church until his death 11 years later. The Gillies family decision to emigrate was well vindicated by the success that would be earned by Gillies' descendants in the years to follow. By the time of his death in 1871, aged 69, here at the second Lily Bank in Queen Street, Dunedin, John had 5 sons, 3 daughters and 33 grandchildren, all of them thriving in the colony and going on to make a significant contribution to its welfare in law, in politics, in government service, in the Presbyterian Church and in farming. And in the next generation, one grandson and then a great-grandson, Archibald McIndoe and Harold Gillies, were to be pioneers in the development of reconstructive plastic surgery during World War II.